It's the Eagle Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Forum on Eagle Television. I'm Gary Shorman, and the program is brought to you by Hayes Med. Our guest today is new to our community. He's the new superintendent of USD 489, Ron Wilson. Ron, welcome.
Thank you. Yes, welcome.
You know what? You come on board, and it's an interesting time, whether it be across the country or right here. Education, however, plays such an important role in our community, the success of our communities, in fact, many cases, why we live here. And you come at it and come to our community with a broad background. So how did you get started in this whole thing? How did you get started in teaching and then working up to administration and doing that?
Well, you know, my story is probably typical of a lot of educators. I had influential people in my life that were educators, teachers, coaches that I had great experiences with, and I think wanted to emulate some of what I was the recipient of to give back to the kids and staff that meant so much to me growing up. And so, you know, I think that's truly where I was destined to go, and I think I've found the right path, and I'm really glad that education has been my career. It's been a great journey.
Does being a teacher help with being a superintendent? Because sometimes you look at that superintendent and it gets to be like, wow, all of a sudden you have to make all the really hard decisions, but you do it from a base of being a teacher.
Oh, I think that's a great point. I mean, I think your lens maybe widens as a superintendent, whereas sometimes as a teacher you're focused on your classroom and your specific students that you're teaching. But I think, yeah, definitely every decision that I make now as a superintendent is probably refers back to some of my days as a teacher and even as a principal. And so I think that's how you can frame what is important and keep in mind of really what our business is all about.
You know, Ron, one of the things that you've done in the past, you've not only been principal of the year, you've been middle school supervisor or superintendent of the year, I believe, may get that close to being right. What does it take to do that? Because obviously as principal, you deal with teachers and students and family and parents every day.
Well, I don't know if I have the correct answer, but I think that it all goes back to I've been pretty successful in developing relationships with lots of people. I'm a strong kid advocate. I think I've understood early that we're in the kid business and working with kids and trying to figure out how we can make kids successful. No matter what things sometimes get in the way, we're going to try and figure it out. I've also worked that same way with with looking at teaching and how can I support teachers to help them make those roadblocks disappear for kids. So I've just been a big supporter of people, and I think that I've been a recipient of being able to receive some nice awards because of that.
How much harder is that today than it was 10 years or even 20 years ago, or way back in the Stone Ages when I went to school? It seemed a little simpler. You had a yellow pad, and today there's not only so many different areas of curriculum, technology comes into play, and frankly just the world of social media that we play in appears more complicated.
I definitely think in a lot of ways it has become more complicated because of our world and so many things that kids have access to that they didn't have access to several years ago, even during my career. I think it all comes down to just the simple idea that you got to work to learn to know the kids, to understand what makes them tick, and you try to just push the right buttons. And so it's in a lot of ways it has changed, but you still go back to the basics of just trying to get to know kids and figure out what's going to help them be successful.
You know, one of the things, had a chance to read an article in Hayes Post a couple of weeks ago that was talking about some of the needs in the school. But you look at all of those things, technology-based products. Maybe at one point you used a handsaw, but today there's all of the technology that goes into the electronics that we certainly want our kids to be up on what's going on. How do you keep up with those items?
You know, and you rely on people to keep you up to date as a superintendent. I'm always trying to reach out to our teachers to find out exactly what they're hearing and what they need to reach the kids with today's technology that's out there. You know, I think the thing is there are some really cool things for kids and learning. Unfortunately, a lot of the times those things are very expensive, and so we'd have to balance costs versus what we can make work. But it's a great time to be a kid in terms of preparing yourself for your future, and because we really strive to make education really relevant to where they're going in the next phase of their life.
You're new to the school district. You roll into town and say, boy, this is my new job. What were you thinking when you first rolled into town and had a chance to do this job?
I'm just overly excited to be here. This is the community of Hayes. As I've been here now 4 months, and I just have been nothing but enthusiastic about where we're at with my family. This is a great community, lots of great opportunities, and so feel so blessed to be a part of this school district. So I can't say enough good things.
You know, one of the things, a few weeks ago I had a chance to be a part of the academic group that had an event down at Fort Hays, so the tie-in with Fort Hays, and you do those things and you're going, not only is sports important, but the academic side of it, the computer side, the technology side, those are big shoes to fill when you try to figure out how to make all of that happen across such a broad platform.
Well, there's a lot of holes that we have to plug, and that's our job, is to figure out how to make that work. So everything across the board is that we're developing the whole kid and not just certain parts of our kids. And so it is a task, but I think that's one of the great things about the Hayes community. We have lots of resources and lots of great things going on that can help plug those holes when we need resources that are available.
Let's talk about some of the harder things that you come in. A couple bond issues not passed. With that means certain structures, certain facilities, certain things that we talk about are being needed don't happen. What are you going to do with the bond, taking a look at those issues out there, facilities that need upgraded? What are you thinking?
Well, I mean, the first step that I have to do, as the new leader of the district, is I have to listen and learn about what's been done in the past and what things maybe didn't work the right way, and try to I guess figure out how can we better make this work. I don't necessarily know if I have any answers today that I didn't know 4 months ago, but the one thing that I know is if you are doing the best thing for kids and working your tails off, people will support schools and what they need. All you have to do is show them that this is what we need to make this work. And I've been a part of some successful bond issues in other districts, not necessarily as a superintendent, but as a principal, and I understand that if you can just show people that you're doing good things for kids, and usually communities support that.
Have you had a chance to really look at some of the specific needs?
Oh, sure. That's for 4 months. That's kind of what I've been doing is trying to gather information about what are some of our needs, and I think I have a pretty good understanding of what some of our needs are. There's probably a few things that I haven't quite figured out yet, but we have some infrastructure needs in terms of some buildings that are aging and space. And it's just things that we're going to have to take time. Some of those we'll have to chip away a little by little. Some of them we won't be able to chip away, and we'll probably have to, at some point, decide as a district if we want to go and choose to go after a bond issue. I think at some point that's probably the direction we'll go. As far as timing, I can't tell you right now what we're thinking. We have a new school board that will come on in January after elections here in November. So I think at that point we'll start having some conversations with the new board about what their ideas are. Of course, I have some ideas of things that I'd like to to put in place, and we'll just see where it goes from there.
You know, when you take a look at those things, when the facilities don't get newer, they don't grow, they tend to, and certain aspects of education have changed, and one of those would be like security. And what used to be the one-room schoolhouse with a door and everybody was in and out, it's kind of the opposite of that right now, if we want to protect our kids, and that becomes some of the things that we play.
Well, there's a great example of just chipping away, and right now all our buildings are secure, but we're trying to develop some more secure, safer entrances into our building. And so that's how we're just chipping away little by little to make those entrances as, you know, that will funnel people in and out safely and securely. We did a couple last summer at the high school and the middle school. Mm-hmm. We're hoping to get some more of those entrances developed this summer with our elementaries. And so, once again, that's just an example of where we're little by little doing the things that are necessary, not asking for a big project to do this, but I think it's needed, and it's just the way of the world today.
One of the things that has to happen is everybody has to be on the same team, teachers, administrators, superintendent, school board. That really helps a lot. And coming together with the teachers to make things happen. You were involved with IBB, interest-based bargaining that went on. What is that different from what's happened here?
Well, I think, interest-based bargaining is just a very structured process for negotiations that you follow certain rules of negotiations that are structured throughout on an item that maybe you're trying to get across. And so, it takes a lot of trust on both parties to understand that everything is very transparent. It's not a situation where you're trying to hold back and maybe not share some cards, so to speak, that you want to play later. It's just laying all your cards down and saying, this is what we got, this is what we would like to do. And you trust that the party across from you is doing the same, and from that capacity, it works. I've been part of it, that it is successful. Is that something that maybe this district would move towards? Possible, very possible. I think we have to get to that point of trust, and that comes from both sides, and where everyone has to trust each other. And we're going to work on that. We're going to get there.
Coming in new, that gives you a chance to be able to build that and make that happen again. Ron, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, find out how people should interact with the district. Whether there's anything you would like to do, how they go about doing that. We're also going to ask about your background, where you came from, because you seem like you kind of fit in pretty well here.
Okay.
Back with Ron Wilson after this.
Be one of our weekly winners through football season with the Wolf Furniture Gallery's Gridiron Glory. Players go to HayesPost.com to pick weekly winners in the NFL. Prizes will vary. The best at season end will claim the grand prize, a complete living room set. Register at HayesPost.com in the contest section. Football season could pay off big with the Wolf Furniture Gallery's Gridiron Glory. Presented by Wolf Furniture Galleries, Eagle Marketing Solutions, HayesPost.com, and Eagle Radio.
Someone in here with us?
Ghost Hunters is back with a new team, better tech, and more answers.
This is my favorite part of the night.
We had to flee our home.
I've been doing this for 30 years. I chase the truth. Only with the truth can I truly help someone.
Whoa!
Ghost Hunters returns Wednesdays at 9 on A&E.
Have you considered the value that quality video content can bring to your business? Mid-America Productions can provide professional visual media to effectively engage your target audience. We're a full-service video production company serving Salina and surrounding regions for over 35 years. Whether you need videos for promotion, sales, training, fundraising, or other purposes, our experienced team can deliver for you. Find us online at mapvideo.net. That's mapvideo.net.
Welcome back to the second half of our forum here on Eagle Television. The forum's brought to you by HaysMed, and I always like to remind you that if you have some people you know, somebody you know who should be on this program, just give me drop me a line, email at gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. You can find me there. You can also go on Facebook. Look for us under ECTV Forum. Our guest is a new superintendent of USD 489 here in Hays. Ron Wilson's his name. And Ron, you're new, 4 months into it. We just talked about that. How do people interact with you? What's the best way to find you?
Well, I mean, I think the thing is part of it. It's on me. I've really made a real goal of mine to be visible in the district. You know, I've tried to be at events, and I think that's one way that people can connect with me is if they see me around. You know, reach out to me and introduce themselves. I love the opportunity to visit with people and talk, and if they have questions, I'd be glad to answer them. You know, I have email, of course, and that's available. I think you can get it on our website. And, you know, and of course, there's always a phone call. So I think it's important that I connect with our community and understand that I am sometimes the person that they want to go to you know, be heard, and I'll gladly be that person.
Well, I know one of the things when you look at that is you're out and around. In fact, Mr. Straub invited me to school lunch. Do you go to school lunches?
I've become kind of the lunch guy. I eat a lot of lunches with the kids, and it's really the highlight of my day. I'd like to sit down and visit with kids and ask how their days are going and maybe what made them laugh today, or something, maybe some things that are going on in class that they're enjoying. And sometimes it's great intel for me because I hear a lot about what's all the good things that are going on in our school.
Well, you mentioned early on in our conversation about how we're doing our job at the school district if we're kid focused, if we're focused on those people coming through the program and learning. Where'd you grow up as a kid?
Well, I'm actually grew up south of Abilene. I did not go to Abilene to school, although I was a principal in Abilene for many years. Went to Chapman High School. I was a rural farm kid. Traveled 40 miles to Chapman to school on a school bus. So I spent a lot of time on a school bus. Know all about the transportation that it takes to get kids to and from school.
A lot of good thinking on a school bus.
Yes, a lot of time to do homework. So you know, I was very active in high school. Went to Bethany College in Lindsborg, Kansas. That's where I did my undergraduate work. Played basketball for Bethany College, and then got out of college and went to Minneapolis, Kansas as a teacher and coach, and did that for 10 years, and then was a principal there in Minneapolis for a few years before moving on to Abilene. And that was basically to get closer back to where my parents at that time, our kids were small, and my parents at that time were still on the farm, and so it gave us a chance to get closer back home.
Well, no wonder you sound familiar and sound like somebody that fits in. I'm a farm boy from Clay Center, right up the road a little bit. So you see that, and you know, fitting in with the rural community we have here, the people here being a part of that is so important. And your little kids you were talking about, I know one of them's at Fort Hays right now.
Yeah, one of them is not little anymore. He's finishing up his final semester at Fort Hays and will be graduating in December. I have my oldest my oldest girl works for Cerner in Kansas City, and then I have my youngest is at K-State and is in his third year at K-State.
So you get to cover the state a little bit as well, don't you?
I do, yeah. A little, you know, I as far as the Hays has been awesome, but I have moved a little further away from those, but that's all right. It just gets a little more drive time.
Well, it's good to have you in town. It's good to have, you know, when someone comes in, the fresh look at things go on, and I think as you come in and see those opportunities, hear from those of you who may be watching out here right now. It really helps move forward because kids are the most important thing in our community, and trying to figure out a way to drive that whole process forward to be better is important.
Oh yeah, and that's what I've been trying to stress in my early time here with everyone, is that, number one, we're going to be a champion for all kids, and we're going to try and figure out how to make every kid successful here and give them the best possible opportunities for their future. And that's truly what we need to do. I've also tried to stress that our job is to bring our best every day, and to do everything that we can possible to make sure that when we step into that classroom or that playing field or whatever role we're fulfilling with kids, is we're just being our best. And I think also what I've asked staff to do is that we've got to got to carry the banner for our school or district, and those are some of the things that I've really tried to bring to the district early on.
Ron, it's good to have you here. Ron Wilson's been our guest here on the Forum. He's a new superintendent of USD 489. Thanks for watching the Forum. It's brought to you by Hayes Med and by Eagle Communications. Our community connected.